We're going to get started, and we're going to let Brother Van Lope from Burkeville Baptist Church do our invitation.
I was thankful. Father, we're so grateful today that you give us the opportunity to come before you and share our needs to you, Father, and know that you already know what the needs are. And that, Father, that you are able and capable of helping us in all of our responsibilities, whatever they might be. And Father, we do lift up all of those that lead our county. We just ask you, Father, to bless them in a very unique and special way, giving them wisdom, Father, and direction, and how to lead our county to be the kind of county that you would like for it to be. Father, I thank you today for just the day that you give us to live another day. And may this day be a day, and Father, in all that we do, to honor you and glorify you. For we ask you in your precious name. Amen.
Amen.
We will call the meeting to order. And welcome any of the guests that's here today. We'll start out with the consent agenda. The city hall packet, hopefully y'all looked over. And one thing that's not in there this time is the September English Year program.
Judge, I read over them and I didn't see anything that caught my attention.
Here, to approve the consent agenda.
I move approve the consent agenda.
Second. Motion been made, second, to accept the consent agenda. Some discussion, so all in favor? The second item is deliberate and consider action on the following agenda items. But first, before we do that, I'm going to let Mr. Billy Ted Smith, he wants to speak, and go ahead.
Okay. I'm here today to present my assistant coordinator, Olin Bean, a certificate. It's a Certified Texas Emergency Manager certification. And here also on behalf of the Board of Directors for Emergency Management Association of Texas, and to present this, and it's a certification that requires a lot to do, and in excess of 1,000 hours of training, and I don't know how many hours just to get the application together. I know Olin was over there pulling papers and throwing them around here and there, and he finally, after sending them back and forth to us, the directors, we finally got it all together. And so anyway, it's my pleasure to present Olin with this certificate. You may have to do yours.
You want to stand that way where there's not a glare?
Oh, okay. We'll stand wherever you go. We're married men.
Okay, I got you, but I wanted to get it on this too.
Okay, here you go.
Oh, here we go, I got you.
Yeah, all right. Do you have it?
I don't know, it makes all kind of circles and I think I do.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Olin. Thank you, George. We appreciate all you do and all Olin does. And if we can do anything, let us know.
I would say the man's done an outstanding job for us.
He does.
Thank you for what you do. I'll send you mine.
The first on there, the discussing employer health and benefits and services available to the county. And we got a representative from the insurance company, and Mr. Orlando.
That's it.
All right. And I think the court wanted to ask you maybe a few questions just to clarify some of the stuff. I know we've already signed up with you and all that stuff, but just some clarification that the court might have.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you for having me. I'm Orlando Espinosa. I'm your employee benefits consultant with TAC. So I'm here to answer any questions that you have. So if you guys want to talk about just the renewal and how the process works, I'm happy to do that. Or if you guys have specific questions, we can talk about that as well.
Well, I have a couple of
Yes, sir.
questions. Last year, we were quite surprised, or at least I was, and several others. We were told that it was just going to be minimal changes, and then the entire PCS card changed with a different company. I went to get my first prescription, they said it'd be $1,500. And after I got up off the floor, we finally got it straight, but it didn't affect me, it affected several of us, because we finally got mine straight, I went, and there was 2 or 3 coming back out, had been turned down also.
Yeah.
And I just, like I said, we've told minimal changes, and you had to know that it was gonna be a new PCS card before we signed up, and we were not notified of that.
Yeah. So to talk about that, we were going through the RFP process of figuring out, because we had been with CVS Caremark for years, and everything was fine. We weren't having any issues with them. However, our director actually went to a conference and heard someone talk about the contracts that they're working with the PBMs and how we have no control over it. And as the administrator of this pool, that we weren't okay with that. We weren't okay with not having any control. So we kind of went through the RFP process, not knowing if we were going to make a change or not. Just kind of trying to see what we could do, figure out a way to gain more control over that, the pharmacy bit, because that's a lot of money that goes into the pharmacy claim. So we wanted to do our due diligence as the administrator to do what was best for the pool. And so we didn't want to put it out there that we were going through RFP to cause everyone asking questions, because we didn't have the answers at that time. We didn't know what we were going to do. We didn't know if we were going to leave CVS or if we were going to stay with them. So we didn't, it took a little bit longer than what we thought it was, because it was a bigger project than what we had anticipated. So with that, as soon as we did make the decision and the board approved to make the change, we try to get out as much communication as possible. And now I know we did switch midstream for you guys, because you guys are a 12-1 group. The reason for that is because we couldn't switch. The majority of our groups are 10-1 anniversary groups, but we also have 11-1, 12-1, 1-1 groups. So we couldn't switch only part of them and then keep the other ones and then switch after your anniversary date. We had to do all of it all at once. And so unfortunately, that is something that, we were trying to kind of make it as easy as possible, so that we didn't have to, have as much interruption as we could avoid. But obviously that, it's a huge, uptaking to go through that. We didn't, like my only answer to you is we didn't know what was going to happen, and we didn't want to, say this is what we're doing and then have a bunch of questions that we didn't have answers to. So we went through the process, and then as soon as we realized what we were doing, we tried to get out as much communication as we could about it. Now, when it comes to the actual drugs and what's on the formulary, how much it costs and stuff like that. So the main reason why we switched was so that we could have control of our formulary. And with the formulary, we switched from the regular, what you know of as generic brand name specialty, to a 3-tier system. So in the 3-tier system, the way it works is basically we look at all the drugs and we look at what's the most cost-efficient drug and the most effective drug, right? So whatever's the most cost-efficient is going to be the tier 1 drug. So whether it is a brand name or whether it's a generic, if it is the lower cost option, that's going to be our tier 1. So just because it's a generic, we automatically assume cheaper when we say generic. That's not always the case. Sometimes that generic ends up being the higher cost option, and then the brand name can be the lower cost option. So it really comes down to a lot of just education on our part to come out and talk to you guys and talk to your employees about what are the steps, what do you take. So the big thing that I talk about is just calling Navitus. The numbers on the back of your ID card, give them a call. If you're at the pharmacy, don't pay the $1,500. Don't walk out and just say, well, I can't pay $1,500 for this medication, so I'm just going to leave, right? We want you to take 5 minutes, hop on the phone, call Navitus and just say, hey, I'm at this pharmacy, they told me it's going to cost $1,500 for this medication. This is the medication I'm trying to take, what's going on? So a lot of times what we found early on was that the pharmacies were actually just running the claims wrong. And so they weren't actually going to Navitus, and so when they don't go to Navitus, they just come back as declined, right? So then when it gets declined, then that, they tell you, well, it declined, so now you're in charge of the entire amount, right? So a lot of times what we were able to do is actually just call Navitus and say, hey, they're at the pharmacy, they're trying to get this medication filled, what can you do? They would get on the phone, they would call the pharmacy, help them run the claim correctly, and then it would process correctly, right? The other thing that would happen is sometimes the medication wasn't covered because our formulary did change to try to gear people towards the lower cost option in order to help the pool with the costs, right? So in those situations, when you call Navitus, they can give you alternates of what drugs are available at a lower cost to you that are equivalent to the drugs that they're prescribing for you. Sometimes it was just simple as it's like a complex drug, a combination drug that isn't covered, where you can get 2 over-the-counter drugs that aren't covered on the plan, but cost you a whole lot less money. So there's a lot that goes into it, but the main thing that I stress is just call Navitus. Call Navitus or call us. We'll get on the phone. We'll call Navitus. We can get with them. We can, and I know they were talking about sometimes with the exceptions, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer. We're here to help. We're here to make sure that you guys don't go without drugs and don't overpay for drugs. We want, we're here to provide you that service. So if we don't know about it, we can't help you. So the more you contact us, the more you let us know or let Navitus know, the more we're able to actually help and kind of give you a better experience when it comes to, doing that. And then that being said, we did, I will say, from last year to this year. So the last year with CVS to this full year that we had with Navitus, the pool actually saved over 30% when it comes to pharmacy claims, which is a lot more than what we were expecting. We're expecting maybe to save around 10% maybe, and we over exceeded that with that move that we made. So it kind of makes us understand that the move that we made had its positive benefits to the pool and to every member of the pool in that sense. So kind of long answer to your question, but that's kind of what happened and what we want to do going forward.
So we shouldn't expect any surprises next year. Thanks, Jeff.
We're trying to keep the big surprises to a minimum. We definitely, that was a huge undertaking that we did with that PBM change. So I don't foresee us making any huge changes anytime soon, just because we definitely like where we're going with the pharmacy, and we negotiated our admin costs with Blue Cross, so we do that every year. So Blue Cross has been good. We really like the partnership that we've had with them, so we don't foresee any huge changes when it comes to that.
Well, I know one of my medications I've been taking for years for gout and what have you. I went to get it filled, and they said, okay, we're gonna fill it this time, we will not fill this anymore. So I had to call and find out, and y'all had another drug, which I guess was the primary. It said it was primary. The one I was taking was generic, and they said it was gonna be cheaper, which I don't think it works as well. All generics are not, say what they want to, they're not the same. Which is fine, I have no problem with now, but if a doctor prescribes something, I just find it odd that the insurance company says, no, we'd rather you take this.
Well, but then you get into the fact that the only thing that I will say is that sometimes doctors are, given some kind of incentives to gear people towards a certain drug. So,
And that can work both ways.
yeah, exactly. And so then that was also part of it, is that we're, with Navitus, we were able to actually get a different rebate system that we didn't have with CVS. And so that is also going to be a whole lot better. So, you know, they may steer you towards a more expensive drug, and so we're not trying to steer you towards a specific drug. We're just trying to look out and say, what is the best option when it comes to effectiveness and cost? You know, we're trying to keep those down, because if we can keep our costs down, you know, for the pool, we can keep those increases down. So, you know, the pool needed amount 2 years ago was 2.79% across the board. That's how much we needed to increase. This year was, last year was 2.8. This year was 2.79, right? So with 2.79, the actual medical trend is over 7%. So if we were just going with the trend, if we were just saying, you know, health costs are going up, they're not going to come down. They just keep going up because medications keep getting more expensive, and surgeries and everything just gets more expensive, right? So as the pool, our main goal was to do what we can on our end to keep those costs low. Because at the end of the day, we work for you guys, we work for the counties. We're not trying to build any profits. We're trying to just pay your claims. So we are looking out for you guys to make sure that we are doing the decisions we need to make in order to keep those costs low and not have to go with the 10%, 12%, 20% increases that the other insurance companies in the market are going with. You know, we, across the board, we didn't have over no group in our pool got over a 10% increase this year. We want to keep it up. We don't want to get to that point. So the only way we can do that is by doing our job, by administering it properly, and making sure that the decisions we make positively affect each group in our pool.
Ginger, you got something to say? What about your pre-existing?
I've already talked to them.
Or what was his answer?
What do you mean pre-existing?
Well, you're pre-existing, you're gonna fold right over, right? I mean, you're carrier, right? You're gonna-
Oh, yeah.
And
It has
did you
to.
talk to them about the 2-week delay that they turned you down and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I told him that there was several of them. There's a couple of them that has cancer in the county that their medicines was.
Denied?
Denied.
Denied for a couple of weeks?
Explain them to like
Yeah,
you did.
and so, and what, I did talk to her, and, you know, we don't want that kind of delay. That's not, and we totally understand. That's where we're trying to get away from. We are happy to get involved, and we're happy to expedite things. We just have to know about it. We have to be informed, that something's going on in order for us to step in. We don't always have to step in, but the other issue is, sometimes it's not Navitus, sometimes it's a doctor's office. Sometimes Navitus will send over the information to the doctor's office to get, an exception coverage or a prior authorization, some kind of form that they need in order to accept the medication, right? So sometimes it sits in the doctor's office until they have time to go through it, fill it out, and so sometimes it just takes maybe the person who's going through it to call the doctor's office and say, hey, Navitus says they sent you the form and they're waiting to get it back. Can you please fill it out? And then, sometimes you may just have to make an appointment or something to have them fill it out there, because a lot of times that's what we found out, is that it wasn't Navitus that was taking time. It was the actual doctor's office that was taking time to get that back from the doctor's office. But now, when that happens, if there's a situation, if there's a member that's having trouble or having a long time to get something like that, let us know. We can call Navitus, we can have Navitus reach out back to the doctor's office. We can make sure that it gets expedited. We just can't do it if we don't know about it. We're here to help. We want to make sure that those things don't happen, because, we don't want someone going 2 weeks without a medication. That's not what we want. We want it getting taken care of as fast as possible. So if we're notified of it, we can hop on the phone, we can actually call Navitus, we can call whoever we need to in order to get that expedited for you guys.
What we do is call that number on the back of our card.
So if you're reaching out to Navitus, yes, there's the phone numbers on the back of the card. To reach out to Navitus directly and tell them this is what's going on. If you need to reach us, you can always reach out to the treasurer's office. They can reach out to our specialist that's in-house, that's there, ready to help, ready to call whoever they need to call in order to get that taken care of. So I would say always first call Navitus just to see what's going on. If they say this is what's going on, if it's on Navitus that's what's going on, if they're the ones taking longer, then reach out to us, because we'll get on the phone and we'll say, hey, this is unacceptable, we need this done as soon as possible. But a lot of times I will say it is the doctor's office that takes a little bit longer to process paperwork than what Navitus takes to process. Because as soon as they get it, their process to accept drugs and to do those exceptions is pretty quick. The longest part of the exception process is getting the forms to the doctor's office, getting them to fill it out. Sometimes they'll fill it out, they'll send it back, and then they'll say, oh, you sent us the wrong form back. Here's the form that you need to fill out and send back. So it's always just kind of making sure that, we keep Navitus honest and we keep them making sure that they're on the timeline that we want them on, but then also maybe reaching out to the doctor's office and making sure that they're also, doing what they need to do in order to get that medication accepted.
So how much time do you want me to allow you, or allow the doctor's office to do the paperwork?
I don't know that there's a specific timeline of they need to do this in this amount of time, but if you feel like you need it now, just call us. I mean, we can always, as soon as something's going on, as soon as something's taking longer than what you expect, let us get involved. Let us take over, let us get involved and make sure that it gets taken care of. I don't know that there's a specific timeline of Navitus sends it over to the doctor and the doctor has to have it back within X amount of time. I don't want to lie to you and give you a wrong answer, so I would say if you feel like something is taking too long, if it's going to be maybe a couple days and you haven't heard anything back, let us know. Let us know, or call Navitus and say, hey, where's this at?
So you would say 2 weeks is?
2 weeks is definitely long. So I would say definitely, if it's taken more than a couple days, call Navitus. If they say, hey, the doctor's office has the form, we just haven't received it back yet, then okay, now I have to put the pressure on the doctor's office, right? Or if Navitus says, oh, we have it back, but we haven't processed it yet, then that's when you can call us and say, hey, Navitus has the form, they have what they need, but they haven't processed it yet. And then we can get on the phone, we can say, hey, we need this done right away.
And 6 days later,
What was that?
What is that number?
Which number?
That's number.
So
Yes.
usually the way it goes is I would say contact the treasurer's office, and then the treasurer's office will contact us.
But it's the
Okay, so you
TAC,
have to go through them?
it's the TAC, the 1-800 number, the TAC.
Yeah.
Member services.
Okay. What is
How long did you end
it?
up waiting, Jenny?
I think it was 2 weeks, but it was already approved. If I felt like I needed, I would have been on the
Yeah.
phone calling, but they got it approved, so.
And I don't know the specifics of her case. I don't know what happened, who took longer than they were supposed to in that situation. I just know from our experience, most of the time it's the doctor's office that they're backed up, they're seeing patients all day, so they don't have time to go through paperwork. And that's a lot of times what happens, and that's not our problem.
Well,
No, correct. It's definitely not. It's not your problem. It's, once we figure out that is the problem, we need to make sure to do that.
We pay you, right?
Yes, sir.
And you pay them, right?
Yes.
You're the guy.
Yes, sir.
well, my question is, that doctor ordered this medication, why shouldn't tablets have to send something to that doctor? I mean, they've already written the prescription.
Well, because sometimes it's a drug that is not covered under our plan, or it's a drug that needs some kind of form to be filled out, like a prior authorization saying that, if it's a drug that is on our plan and they write it and they go take it to the pharmacy, there's no problem. It'll be filled with no issues, right? This is coming when it comes to drugs that are not on our formulary, that are not necessarily covered, to where either we need something from the doctor saying, this is why this person needs to take this specific medication. Because a lot of times, if there is an alternative, that's the first thing we do, is we say, well, there's this alternative that is available. That's the equivalent, and it just costs less, right? And then if the doctor says, no, they need to take this one, then we're like, okay, well, we need to know why it is that this specific medication is the one that they need to take instead of this one that is covered. So that's why it gets into that situation of the doctor needing to give us a form, because if there's a drug that is covered, we need to know why it is that the drug that is covered is not good enough, that we need something from the doctor saying, this is why this person cannot take this drug. That's when we get into that. If it's a covered drug, there's no issues, but there shouldn't be issues. You should be able to take the prescription to the pharmacy and get it filled because it's covered, right? The only problem is when it's not covered.
does any of the county employees, here on that program have any questions?
The only thing that I had asked him about was the most complaint I get from anybody about our plan is the expense of our dependents being on the plan with us. And he can explain why those costs are higher and what could be done about it.
Yeah, so, just across the board, dependents are more expensive, right? The employee-only price is a lot lower than what it costs to cover your dependents. And most counties and groups cover, 100% of the employee-only premium. And then the rest of the dependents, they're, at the employee's expense. So there's different things that we can do. A lot of counties, start contributing a little bit more towards those dependent tiers in order to make it a little bit more affordable for the employees. What that does is a lot of times those dependents are good risk, so that we're contributing a little bit more in premium and then also a little bit less in claims. So then your claims numbers look better, right? So then with your claims numbers looking better, it allows us to control those rates, bring those rates down a little bit, little by little. So those are some of the options that we have. Once we actually get a little bit closer to renewal, we can look at different options to lower those dependent costs, to see what different plans are available, see what things we can do. I'm happy to come out and do a workshop with you guys to talk about different plan options, different things that we can do to get those dependent costs lower. But just know it's across the board. For the most, I would say your prices when we're looking at dependents are pretty comparable to our other counties and our other groups in our pool. It's just the way it is in the industry that, the dependents cost more than the employee by itself. But there are things that we can do, and there are things that we can talk about and discuss. And, once we get closer to, next year, I'm happy to come out and talk to you guys again about it and see what things we can do and talk about, different ways that we can maybe see those numbers come down.
So what you're saying is the counties that I know of who have a lower dependent cost is probably paying more towards that from the actual county?
Correct. We do have a number of counties that do contribute a lot. They do contribute a percentage of not only the employee only, but also of the dependent tiers as well. So then the employees see a lower cost for their dependents because the county is actually covering a little bit of that dependent cost. So the rates aren't necessarily lower. It's just what the employees are actually paying is lower because the county's contributing a little bit more towards those tiers.
Any more questions?
I'd like to make a comment. We all understand cost, concerns and whatnot. During your presentation, you hit hard on cost early, and I feel like that we need to put more emphasis on the effectiveness of the drug, because I'm not, when we look at costs from a management or county standpoint, yes, quite naturally we are concerned. But when it comes down to one of our employees being sick and need medical help, I think that we need to put a little more emphasis on. I realize, this drug might be cheaper than that one, but the effectiveness matters to me more than the cost.
Correct.
I'd be willing to pay more out of my pocket if I know it's going to do me twice as good as that generic or whatever y'all recommend.
Yes.
So I'd like to see, maybe in this presentation sound like, at first you said, well, cost. Well, we're concerned about health as well as cost.
Yes, sir.
So I realize from a company standpoint, the cost is more concern, bigger concern. But as far as us, the health situation and the effectiveness of the drugs mean just as much or more.
Well, and I appreciate your comment. And what I will say is, when I'm talking about cost, it's because as a company, we are looking at the drugs and we're saying these drugs are equivalent. They are equal. They are two drugs that have the same ingredients, that have the same effectiveness. We're just looking at the cost of it because we do look at both those drugs as equals. And so when we're looking at if you're looking at two things that are equal, but one costs more and one costs less, you're going to go with the less cost, right? So that's why I'm focusing on cost, because as a company, we are looking at these drugs as equivalents. And so, not all the time are they equivalent, and we know that. And we know that sometimes those generics or sometimes those lower cost options aren't as effective. And in those cases, that's why we have certain steps in place where there's step therapy, where if you've taken this drug and it don't work, then you can take this drug that, you know, is a brand name or a higher cost option. So we've put some of those in place because we know that although we are being told that these drugs are equivalent, sometimes it's not true. And so if that's the case, we also have those backup steps in place to make sure that, you know, we are providing the best service and the best, most effective drug we can, because, you know, it's not all about cost for us either. We don't want to give you a $10 pill that doesn't work for you when we can pay $100 for a pill that does work for you. You know, we're looking at the cost and the effectiveness of the drug as well. But I appreciate that, because I know I did talk about, you know, cost a lot, and I don't want you to think that that's all we're worried about. We're not the ones making decisions. We have consultants, pharmacists, all these different people, physicians on a board that kind of help us make those decisions. And you know, we're not pharmacists. We rely on what they know, what they've seen, and then on their opinion a lot. So thank you for that.
We appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to come back out to you guys and meet with you guys, talk about anything else that you guys may have. So just reach out to me. The treasurer's office has the information for the specialist in-house, and we're happy to answer your questions and do anything that you guys need. Okay. Thank you.
All right, the second item is discussion of corporate approved contract with GHS for the IRA and credit card package to assist the court in collecting on payments online. And this item has come up once before,
Yes, sir, I don't have any new information since then. I did have some questions as to why it was, $10,000 before and then now it's free, and I don't know if y'all got the answers from that data that you were wanting. It was all of the conversion thing, and since we weren't gonna do the icon at that time, is why we were gonna pay $2,500 in office. Back during that time, we were looking at this maybe doing an office or two, and then we just let that go, and it's been probably a year back, maybe two. But anyway, now they're doing the conversions for other offices, and it's like a major transition that they're doing, and they're offering it to us now for free. The internet speed, because we will be converting over to Icon with NetData, the internet speed at the new annex is the slowest one of all four right now, so we're working on that at this time. And that's why they're offering it for free, because we are on the track now to get on Icon.
Is there some kind of contract they sent? Is the VA's office read the contract?
Yeah, I showed it to her last time. You know, whenever I had it before, I showed it to her, and Liz had the copy. I think you guys just looked at it now. It's kind of the same kind of contract that we have through certified payments. The only thing is with certified payments, they could go online and do it at a website, but they're going in blind. Like, they have to know exactly how much their ticket is in order to pay it. With NetData, they automatically go into their case, know exactly what it is. It's just another tool that NetData offers that we could utilize instead of another company. And they too charge it's on there, it's the standard rate for using like Visa, MasterCard, American Express and all that. It's like a 0.275, is that what it is? So, but we don't pay that. The person paying the ticket pays that. We get all of our fine money and they are reimbursed through it's called a convenience fee. But that's what they get for each transaction.
Well, if this doesn't fit y'all and there's nothing in the contract, a year from now, they're gonna come back and say, well, you owe us $30,000, you know, for some of this stuff. You know, if it didn't fit y'all, I don't have a problem with it at all.
Now with the Icon conversion, I don't know the cost has even been
talked about support before, so
right.
we didn't delve into it because it was useless. And, but they have converted in most counties, And it's my understanding, just like Lane said, that, that's why they're offering this benefit now, they're trying to get everybody the same way. And it will be beneficial to us, it'll be beneficial to the, person trying to pay their citation. Because they will see their case direct, and not go through, somebody else.
And it'll be the same process as certified payments, like that's why they did our bank information on that. But yours was over 10, right? If yours was over 10, your speed on your internet for Icon, you were over 10, weren't you? Yeah. And I think that Shannon had said the deal at the annex is that through AT&T we just did 10. Is that right, Mr. Thompson? That initially we had just signed up for 10, whatever it is. And then like the library coming in, it's like if all the computers are working at one time, then my speed's like 7. That was before the library coming in.
Shannon's putting something together and her lead is on that.
I know that y'all had asked to talk to that. Were you able to talk to them? That data, you had some questions about it, like later on them charging us. I think it was Dina.
Yeah, I talked to, have you talked to them?
Because I know they were coming that next week, you had said.
She never showed up. Come to think of it, because she was supposed to come the week after that conference we went to, but she never showed up. That's the first I thought about it.
Because we had tabled it and gonna have some more questions about it, but.
And you know, you got it in writing here that they're not going to charge us.
Right. And that's why I asked her, did you send me an email itemizing all that out? Because, I mean, of course, it's a concern. But because it was $2,500 in office, which would have been $10,000 for the 4 of us to get into the program. And she said since the mass conversion was going on, they would, because that we were trying to increase our internet through all 4 offices to support Icon. It would be great. And I have a copy of that email. I think I sent that.
It's
the first
attached.
one, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's attached.
And do you still have the copies of all the contracts? Because I have, Courtney has them. You can keep those if you want. I mean, they're all for the same, just they're itemized out for each. So I really don't have any more than I did last time, other than to explain the part of Icon with the internet, that we are better than we were last year. Last year we were having like Wild Blue, and no, it was 2 years ago, because we had Wild Blue and things like that, and it was not something that could be secured or have enough speed to support Icon. So we were just like marked off the list.
So is this gonna make the internet service slower? It's gonna bog it down?
We have to have a higher speed to support it for it to.
That's what I'm asking.
And that's what they're working on in Deweyville right now.
Yeah.
Shannon's working on that. They're putting together, in fact, I think I saw something come in on my email about it. And it's actually, the cost of the higher speed, it's gonna go up, but Shannon discovered that they're charging us all kind of taxes they shouldn't be charging us, so it's going to be like a wash, so our bill's really not going to go up. But I saw that come through a while ago, but I haven't looked at it.
What about the rest of our office?
When you say volume,
They should be fine. They're going to be fine because they've tested it, and the other 3 said they were good.
My router here all the time, my computer's quit, slowing down, it won't do it, I mean, now we're gonna add, now we're gonna add something else to it?
What do you mean add some? Oh,
Well, after lunch, here in the courthouse, you can forget uploading anything big. I don't know what goes on in the afternoon, but it just...
well, the more everyone uses it, especially there at the annex too, when you have the library computers tagged onto it too.
Yeah,
I can't
so-
see where it would bog it down any more than certified payments is right now.
It shouldn't.
Because it's the same process.
It shouldn't, it's the
just another
same.
thing.
Because it's just a different company doing this, basically the
They
same
just
thing.
require a higher speed to get everything downloaded.
Right.
into. But we already have an internet credit card system now. It's just one that, I mean, I can have someone call my office and I'll tell them your ticket's 10210. So inevitable, they'll send me 103 just to round it off. And I have to send a check to Liz for 90, you know, asking for a 90-cent reimbursement. Whereas this, they see what they have. It, you know, the other way, the way we have now, once they call
If
it.
they're not aware, time payment or, the collections is added to it, they don't send us.
Right.
So it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
They not see it, they're not seeing their actual tax like the rest of them. If they can call it pay without going to us, so, you know, it just keeps them a lot of, confusion, and then like she said, after reimbursed, go through the rest process.
An example of what you're saying is like if they call in January and we tell them 145, well, collections picks it up in March, well then that's 30% added to it. So if they send us 145 in March, that's no longer paying off their account.
I'm okay with long court and theirs, okay. They want to put up with.
But, well, last month, the question I had was, yeah, it's free, but, you know, in a few months, is it not gonna be able to be serviced or anything, work with it because we're not on the ICON system? ICON.
Yes.
And, but now she's saying we're working towards getting ICON, but yeah, it's free, but it won't do us any good at some point at some point they won't service us because we're not part of their other system. But if we're getting the other system, that's not a concern
We
to
got
me
a
anymore.
minimum package of service there, 10 megabytes. And we hope to upgrade it to 20 on each end, see 20 on the carbon now.
Well, and not just Louisville though, the other three, you know, will they be able to get ICON?
What was your
Or this won't do any good? At some point.
Your internet speed? All of them were over 10, Shannon
Yeah.
did all of them. And 10 was the minimum requirement, and we tried to bring things, we even got people to sign it, just
I
get
don't know anything about that. I
Yeah.
don't have to know about it. But I don't know about it. I don't know anything about speed.
Well, it sounds like to me, boy, if you're at 10, if that's the minimum at 10, and that's where we're at, that sounds like you're going to crash somewhere. Well, that's what I'm saying, I mean, until you get it over, until you know our system gets up to where. Yeah.
And we're working on that too, but you know, they're just at this point, they're over 10 right now, so they're good to go. But we're,
14 was funny. One of them on Verizon was like 14.
Well, how long they gonna offer this for free?
I don't know, they're steadily sending emails and I'm forwarding them to y'all.
and they're wanting to get this done pretty
Questions?
quick because they're in the middle of a mass conversion.
Have you talked to Shannon about that? Have you talked to him about what's going on?
Yeah, because he's done the test on the speed.
Yeah, he knows what we're doing, and I sent him the email as well, showing what our internet speed had to be. Because he was the, you know, he's over the computer stuff, and that's when he started digging and found that, on AT&T, I always signed up, our package was only 10 of whatever, I don't know the name for it, but I just thought that's what our package was for Louisville. And I don't remember how many computers we have. We have 2 in your office, tax office has 3, it's 5, sheriff's office has 5, that's 10. Mine is 2 in the library, however many. I mean, we're looking at 15 plus computers in that building if they're all running at the same time, so 18.
Well, maybe we need to talk to Shannon.
Y'all take care of it, how about?
Well, Shannon is working on Deweyville, trying to get it, I mean, he's sent, I think I saw an email this morning come through. The other 3 JPs are well above the 10, and he said they should be fine. Because Brenda and Connie are actually on Verizon, and they have some real good speed. And Mike's on Windstream. I don't know. I think you're on
It's still
Windstream.
one thing that's not real good.
Well, but his is pretty good. His is good now that they got everything updated over there, got it all hooked up. So,
I mean, I can go back and I can send them an email if it's gonna work without Icon. How much is Icon gonna be? What, I mean, the rest of the questions that y'all have. I have no problem. I mean, whatever y'all want me to do.
Yeah,
I'll go ahead.
that was what I was trying to say before, was, yeah, this is free, but at some point it won't work without ICON, and so then, what is it, you know?
What's that gonna cost?
I mean, it sounds like people.
You got that already?
No, we don't have Icon. It's an upgrade, but I don't even know. You know how much,
Are you
this
getting
will
into
work
it?
without Icon.
Are you getting into it?
You know, it's for just.
It's for JPs.
Yeah, it's the,
It'll be,
net data.
I understand, but it'll be in Louisville, I mean, just asking.
It'll be at all 4
Did you
JPs.
say that this would work without
At
Icon?
some point, it
Yes,
possibly
Yes,
will work
it will.
without Icon.
Well, what's the
So
benefit going without
I don't know, but we've got plumb off base with this
All the
conversation.
JPs. It's a program just for the JPs. Icon is an update to the current program we use under net data. Like the,
With the
Clerk's
sheriff,
office?
sheriff on?
No,
Sheriff has net data, yes.
yeah,
But
but,
it's a different program than what we have.
but Dana, don't they read the Icon? Don't they, because we get a report from them on what y'all owe sometimes. So at somehow it's,
Yeah, we have the I-tickets, that's part of
okay,
Icon.
that's what it is.
We're getting bits and pieces of it because we've not completely converted because of our internet. So our tickets work, which means when a DPS trooper writes a ticket, if it's in his
Okay.
computer the next morning, it's in our system.
So he has it too.
Yes.
So now,
Well, he has a branch to it. He can communicate with us, just like the sheriff's office can communicate with us. But we have our own set program. We can go into the sheriff's office stuff, but yet we can't go into the criminal history. I mean, we can see a booking sheet on there, but there's other stuff in the sheriff's office program that we can't access, and that's part of ours, and he can't access ours.
Just because
And it's just
part of it's
an-
their job and part of it's our job.
Right.
So they don't access our job, we don't access their job. It's really like what it's saying.
well, I'll give you mine.
So the question you want answered is, how much is it gonna cost us if we do get on the Icon, or if we don't get on the Icon?
Well, and what she's saying is it works without Icon, but my question is for how long? At some point, you're gonna say, oh, well, until you're on Icon, we can't service it or whatever. And so then what is it gonna cost us to get on Icon at that point for it to work?
I'll send her an email here.
Does that make sense? Am I saying that?
Yeah, because Icon don't upgrade at some point.
Right.
They all.
So it's free now because everybody else is going to Icon, but we're not. But if we don't,
And that's why I just asked the question, are we gonna go ahead, since you're updating the computer system in Louisville, is now the time to
go to Icon,
add this to it?
and what will it cost to do Icon?
Well, it depends on what it costs at this
Can we
point.
come back to this here in a
Have
few
y'all
minutes?
looked at the
I can
balance?
turn on the phone, talk to her and get her to send me an email. That'll be,
Yes, sir. We'll just,
I'd
if
say
you
keep
get
moving
that
on.
information, we'll come back to it, after.
It's just like the Windows computers. Now, when they don't service us, everybody's having to replace all their computers, even if it was free. But it doesn't do us
Judge.
any good. It's free.
May I ask you real quick? Was it downstairs before? What did you know if the security camera modem was in the dungeon floor?
I believe it was.
Can you give us that?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna move on off of number 2, and we'll come back to it after, item number 6. And Ms. Dana's gonna give us some more information on that. And we'll move to number 3, and let's discuss if appropriate, approved contract with EDA Grant Administrative Service with DICOG and ED&D are proposing to Newton County, and that's Mr. Bob Michelle.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. We have been fortunate enough, we've now been notified that we did get the 100% grant for the road, redoing 1.73 miles of County Road 4123 down at Deweyville, going out to the sand sorting business. I think we're going to make it all the way down to the Citizens Trash Transfer Station. What we are asking, the EPA grants are a little bit different animal. They're a federal grant, but they're a little bit different animal than CDBG. DETCOG has 3 active grants right now that we are managing. And we are proposing to the county that we manage the grant aspect of gaining this money to redo the road for Newton County. What we'll do is we'll work with the appropriate members of the county government to acquire engineering services, contractors on the road, and we go through all the federal procurement process of doing this, thoroughly documenting it. EDA structures their grants to where you can't start drawing the money until you have a signed construction contract. You can imagine that they have projects that get rolling and never quite make it to construction, and they think that that's really the point at which you have a project. The planning is not what they're interested in paying for. They want to pay for the actual building or construction, in this case, work being done on the road. The contract is structured, the contract that we're proposing, I have examples if y'all don't have them in front of you. And also can distribute them to anyone that needs or wants a copy. But it is based, it's $30,000 total. It is based on benchmarks. We don't set an invoice until we have performed through certain phases of the grant process. And this particular contract is an example that EDA provided me based on other economic development districts work. I think this one came out of Panhandle Plains, and the people at EDA say it meets all their requirements.
But you did say you would be going out for bids for engineering.
Yes, we worked with Pat Oates in developing this grant application at Goodwin Lassiter. And I was kind of directed that way, that y'all had done work with them before and it had been satisfactory. I went back to the EDA folks and I said, you know, they have a pre-existing relationship with this engineering group. Can we just keep going with them? And they said, federal procurement requirements, you know, you need to do throw it out for request for proposal and go through the wait period and then open the proposals. Now, the situation is such that y'all get to make the choice of the engineering firm based on the proposals. I mean, that is, you know, we don't enter into the key decisions that are made in the process. We're primarily making sure that we do follow all the guidelines so that there's no problem in drawing the money to pay for the project. And we document it because that's a big thing with EDA. You know, they're going to make sure you've sent in all the documents before they start reimbursing you, or they continue reimbursing you. And that's part of what we'll be doing, what we're proposing to do.
Doesn't cover the full 2.2 miles of road.
I'm sorry?
This doesn't cover all the road from 87 to 12.
No, sir, we couldn't. Dollar-wise, when we really started looking at putting together the grant proposal, it started getting up into $4 million, $5 million to do the whole road. So what we did is we brought back and did from the Citizens Transfer Station, I believe, back to Highway 12, because that's the main path that the industries use And of course, EPA is focused on job creation and retention. So we proposes to harden that road and put in the culverts where it washes so bad. And end up with a blacktop, a pretty good layer of blacktop on top of a stabilized road using cement.
Shoot, James, if I couldn't get the whole thing, I'd turn it down and I'll take the other part. I'd be glad to get that little small part.
Well, I'm just surprised that's the first I heard that we were
We tried to kind of keep things going and communicating on that.
On our construction, go out to bid and award it to a contractor, and he sends us a monthly bid, or monthly estimate what he's got done. How long period you elapse the time when he turns that in to the time the county gets reimbursed?
Have to be real careful on this. EDA historically has been a very speedy reimbursement system. But what I've seen here recently, Judge, is that the staff in Austin is trying to do their normal, year after year business, and then now they've got this $157 million of Hurricane Harvey grants that are just now starting to, they've been getting them approved up till now. Well, now they're going to start reimbursement. And so, working with the building that DECOG is building over in Lufkin, typically what we're seeing is it takes about 2 weeks up front for the EDA people in Austin to review the request for reimbursement and say, yes or no, you need a little bit more, or this is being sent in. Now, the good news is after they okay it, you pretty much have your money within 10 days. They send it to, they're a branch of the U.S. Department of Commerce, and their payment mechanism is through the NOAA, the Weather Bureau people. But once it gets approved over in Austin, the money hits you. It's a direct deposit program, and it's in your account within 10 days. This is not one of those wait around month and month and month, and they're promising to you.
So we're actually paying the bills, and you're not, or you don't?
You're paying the bills, yes. Yeah, I'll be working with Ms. Holloway, and what I'll be doing is preparing, getting copies of the bills, preparing the appropriate documentation that EDA requires, and sending it in, and at the same time making sure I copy her so she sees. We'll be doing the bookkeeping.
And in grants like this, as we do procurement, they like everything set up so they can go ahead and review that instead of waiting until, we're ready to ask for reimbursement,
Yeah, it's not a reimbursement grant, it's a month by month.
Okay.
Program.
Is there a match on this?
It's 100%.
We anticipate it starting, we anticipate it starting next year.
Which, I'm gonna have to get with the judge and make sure that if you receive the commitment letter, okay. We've got 30 days to get that back to them after you've signed it.
We're gonna send it back in, and I thought I sent you a copy of that.
I may not, we'll have to check.
It's nice.
Changing offices, it's a little delay on getting our mail and such. One of the things I'm gonna have to look at, Commissioner Tommy, is I'm sure that it also came with a set of special terms and conditions.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have to take some time to look at that. As soon as we can get together a request for proposals on engineering, that's really the big first step. And I've got a couple of examples that I'm working with right now.
Well, it'll be first quarter next year then.
Oh, yeah.
That's just
I'm
all
thinking it'll be, it'll be next year.
Yeah, we've got to go
Something
through
that's working.
procurement for the engineering, they've got to come up.
And it's small procurement.
An RFP or a request for construction proposal. And then we have to go through that procurement process. So
And I'm good with, as far as procurement laws goes, because it's under the 50,000, and I'm assuming EDA is good with all of this too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Since it's a small, what they call small procurement contract.
You said it wasn't a reimbursement?
It's a, yeah, it's a reimbursement grant, but it's not one of those you wait a quarter and then, start asking for your money back. It's a month by month.
can do
As soon
it,
as we get
yeah.
the bills, I'll prepare them, send them in. Hopefully you'll have the money within that 30 days. It's not a draw out, it is a reimbursement grant, yes.
I can't remember.
I'm
which
sorry.
one.
We gotta spend the money before we get it.
Well, on this one, what we've experienced in the past, and it's up to y'all, y'all can make the choice to go ahead and pay them, or wait until this money hits your account and then pay.
That would be better. That would be a lot better.
Yeah, if you
It'd be a
build
lot
that,
better than when the contractors.
well, you kind of build that into the understanding of
Yes.
part of their contractual relationship.
And what was the total of this grant, Mr. Bashaw? I forget.
It's a little over $2 million.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, it's $2,017,000.
Something like that, yeah.
30,000.
Okay. I knew it was over 2, but I couldn't remember exactly what.
And it is a 100%, it's the only 100% reimbursement grant that they've had.
270,000.
We appreciate y'all's effort there. I know that-
He worked hard
Originally was-
on, he worked hard on that application.
Charles Bennett has joined us here recently. He's going to be working with me and with St. Center County. And one of the things we were already also working on another grant because there's another batch of disaster money that's become available. And I've emphasized to him over and over is that we've got together everything possible to make this new grant as pitiful as it can be for them to understand that it's not just the principal disaster, but we experience lots of other effects in East Texas that come into job creation and retention, which is what EDA focuses on.
So you think you could have the money to the county within 60 days after the bills were submitted?
Yes. 60/30, I think.
Well, maybe we should put in the contract, what the bid on it, they'd be paid within 45 days.
That's the sort of thing we do in San
Yeah.
Augustine. We
And-
administered the grant for San Augustine City to build their new water storage tanks. And that's part of what we did with them. It was a 45-day pay period.
And that's one reason that when we do procurement on something like this for construction, you look at their financials, for one thing, their financial stability. And then they also, most of these guys that are gonna bid on something like this, they've worked with grants before, so they know it can be up to 45 to 60 days before they get paid. That's why we look at that, we require them to send in financial statements, so we can see that they are financially stable. And that's, on a big project like this, that's probably what we would do, is require that.
And we'll require all the bonding and the
Yes.
insurance and everything. So we're not going to get a real small construction company without the bonding.
Any more questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Ball.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You gotta wait. Is he gonna accept it? Are we gonna?
What action y'all?
Oh. We thought you forgot you were going on.
You hesitated.
He was thinking.
I'll say.
Approve the contract.
Motion been made and second to approve EDA grant for administration service, Deb Cog and EDD. Any more discussion? All in favor? All right, Okay, number 4 is discussion of corporate, approved lease agreement between the Newton Housing Authority and Newton County. This is where we're going to put the new housing for their ambulance service. We can move them from over here where they're at, over to the Dixon, Authority. And, so we just need to approve that.
Are we haven't paid rent, or that's they donating it,
We will pay $50 a month.
keeping that? I'll make that motion.
Motion been made and seconded, we approve the lease agreement between Newton Housing Authority and Newton County for housing our ambulance service. Any more discussion? Not all opposed? Vote. On 5 is discussion appropriate, approve the 2020 Newton County Resolution, Defense Grant Program, this is the resolution.
Same thing we've been doing.
Any concerns on the voice?
Make a motion.
I second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the 2020 Newton County Resolution and the Defense Grant Program. Any more discussion? All in favor? 5 votes. Number 6 is discuss and accept a $10,000 donation from the Sabine River Authority to repair the County Road 3113, precinct 4. And, something you want to fill on that in?
Yeah, we've got a lot of drainage problems. I'd like to blacktop them, but I don't think we can do it at 10,000. We do have some drainage problems, that would certainly help us out. And, Sabine River Authority was generous enough to make that donation. So I appreciate y'all's support.
Which road, is that the road that, before you get down to the river there to the right?
No, it's often, referred to as Shepherd Road, where Jasper and Blacktop part of Shepherd
Right.
Road out to 253.
Right.
But it's just about halfway on that Blacktop, you take a right and go east, and it's a mile of road is what it is.
Called the Irish Road.
Yeah, it's referred to as Irish.
I motion that we accept the $1,000 donation.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to accept
Geez, man, another band.
$10,000 donation to Sabine River Authority to repair County Road 3113, precinct 4. Any discussion? All in favor? 5 votes. Okay, we're gonna go back to number 2. Have you got any questions?
I have some in writing and some verbal, but the writing, they told me just now 10 minutes. It said, I'm not sure the cost associated, this is from Kim Rogers with the credit card agreement, said, I'm not sure the cost associated with updating to Icon, so I've copied a few people on this email so that they can assist with that question. I talked to Robin, who is over the updating Icon, and there is no fee for that. And then number 2, it says you can use the credit card system without Icon, but you will not be able to search for a case, but the case information can be manually entered, which means we can only use it in the office to convert that way. There's no additional cost for credit card processing even without Icon, and the credit card system will always work without Icon for in-person transactions. So for the online website, we do have to have Icon, which is a free upgrade. They're just waiting on our internet. And I should have that email here shortly. You know, want me to forward it all to y'all? gonna give me information. Robin over, that's the one who said it was free to upgrade, and she's sending me an email. Yes, it's free to upgrade to Icon. And without Icon, we can just use it as we're using certified payments right now, but once Icon is installed, then we can utilize the full benefit of it. But she said Icon upgrade was free.
I'll make a motion, we table this until next month and get a little more information and Shannon's more involved and Courtney to look over our legal stuff. And we will have it back on the agenda for next month. Motion made and seconded, we table item number 2 till next month for more information. Any discussion?
I'd like them to find out if there's a deadline on all the free stuff.
All in favor? Okay, Mr. Deal, it's time to pay the bills.
Gonna table that too?
Liz, there was one other thing, you were gonna check to see if we all had contracts with certified payments, if they were above or what we
We
need
need
to
to
do on that.
terminate those contracts.
Okay.
We'll have to make sure.
Okay. Payment of bills for September. General fund, $559,517.36. NCC accrual, $22,329.03. District Attorney State Fund, $792.13. Road and Bridge General, $33,962.36. Road and Bridge Precinct 1, $18,841.93. Precinct 2, $22,860.90. Road and Bridge Precinct 3, $22,065.27. Road and Bridge Precinct 4, $19,584.36. Courthouse Security, $710.50. VAW Grant, $2,176.88. Commissioner Special Precinct 1, $39,260.97. Commissioner Special Precinct 2, $33,992.35. Commissioner Special Precinct 3, $19,274.28. Commissioner Special Precinct 4, $9,127.73. Dedicated Road Precinct 1, $339.20. Dedicated Road Precinct 3, $7,166.21. Dedicated Road Precinct 4, $2,010. Records Preservation, $1,715.83. Lateral Road Precinct 1, $1,000. Lateral Road Precinct 3, $4,188.49. Victims Impact Panel, $28.95. Excuse me. Sheriff Contraband, $779.04. Solid Waste, $18,416.51. Voter Registration, $4,952.70. Law Library, $518. Newton County Library, $13,340.08. Historical Commission, $3,666.89. DA Contraband, $842.84. Hazard Mitigation Grant, $65,850.45. FEMA, $2,925.48. Civic Center, $5,479.04. Technology Fund, $260.04. For a total of $937,975.80.
Make a motion to pay the bills by October.
Second.
Motion say we maybe do it for all four. All in favor? That was
Wednesday is October 15th.
public comment. So, we're fixing to go into executive session, we can, under authority of, government code section 555.47.A, 55.474.
Judge, I did get confirmation on those charges, and it's, the only thing I found about the deadline is like, if we sign contracts today, we're looking at late December or early January to get Icon installed, as long as they're in that time. But I will continue to gather information and come back next month, but I do have it in writing, it's in charge that. And I
So are you tied into the, sorry, Bill, are you tied into it? We all can talk to each other.
Greg, all up there to use another.
Radon?
Yeah,
Yeah, this is a,
boom more.
that's a,
We're back in the regular session, and, is there any action for this?
I don't think there's anything that would
be no action, taken with Commissioner Court on the executive session. I'll hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
Look.